people think they get paid for their time, but they don't. We all get paid for the value we bring to the marketplace, bar none. That's it. So if you're frustrated with what you're getting paid, you have to figure out a way to create more value. Whether that's, again, like what I alluded to earlier about like doing more work for the same organization. Okay, well, that's additional value. You're saving them money and producing more money by doing another job. And maybe they'll pay you more for that.
You're listening to the Real Returns podcast, where we learn how real investments can make a real impact. Join your hosts, Andrew and Dan, as they share stories and interview business leaders on how real estate and other forms of investment can create meaningful change for individuals and communities around the world.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Real Returns podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Reichert. I've got my co-host, Dan Croce. Dan, what is happening over there today?
Oh, man, I'm dragging today. I'm trying to rally for this podcast interview, but I'm tired. See, the reason I'm tired is my neighbor. Okay, I'm not trying to like call him out, but he rings my doorbell at 3 o'clock in the morning last night. Who does that?
3 in the morning?
Yeah, now granted, luckily I was awake because I was up testing my air horn collection. You know, I have this air horn collection, so I was testing it out. But like,
that's so bad.
What's bad about it?
Did he start swinging as soon as he rang the doorbell?
Funny. You know me. Love a dad joke.
You're really scraping the bottom of the barrel for that one.
Yeah.
I feel bad for our guest today.
I saw it on Facebook. I chuckled when I saw it on Facebook. I was like, I'm going to use that for a podcast one day.
That's not bad. It's not bad.
Anyway, I'm excited to get to know and learn a little bit today from Travis Chappell, our guest. He's a podcaster, entrepreneur, and investor. He's all about creating wealth and building relationships and leveraging your network and your relationships in your personal financial journey. So excited to hear from Travis and learn from him today. Travis, why don't you say hello to our listeners?
Yeah, well, first off, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you being willing to share the platform with me. And yeah, thanks for putting out the show. I know it's probably the thing on your to-do list that brings in the least amount of money for the business, but also potentially has the most amount of impact. So I appreciate you guys for doing it.
Yeah, well, likewise, Travis. I know we just recorded on your podcast this morning, and we were talking about how, for me, podcasting has been giving back, a way to just increase knowledge around our particular topic that we like to talk about. But I'd love to hear a little bit from you. How do you think of podcasting? You've done like 10,000 interviews.
It seems like it.
Yeah, pretty wild. And so, maybe tell me a little bit about how did you get into podcasting? How do you think of it? And then just maybe wrap that into your general background.
Sure. Yeah. So real quick, 30,000 foot view. I grew up kind of in a little bit of a cult, independent fundamental Baptist. There's a doc on HBO if you want to go deep into it, called Let Us Pray, Prey. My producer is actually like the main talking head in that documentary. It's kind of interesting. But I growing up that way, it was basically two options for what you want to do with the rest of your life. It was either go into full-time ministry or don't. If you chose to go into full-time ministry, they had a college on the same campus that I went to all of my years of schooling at. And they just handed you an application to that. There wasn't like, there's these other 12 seminaries that exist that you could go to too. It was just like, here's the application to our college, because why would you go anywhere else? Ours is the best. And so that's what I did. That was the path that I took. Was I thought I was going to be a preacher. Thought I was going to full-time ministry. Literally graduated college on the same campus that I graduated from kindergarten on, which was also where I went to church my whole life. So very much like spending the first 20 years of my life in a contained bubble. And then coming out of it, realized pretty quickly that I did not want to be in ministry. But at that point, I had an unaccredited Bible degree. So you don't really get too many jobs lined up. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of hiring managers that are like, you know what we need? We need an unaccredited Bible major is what we need. So I didn't really know what to do, but I had also gotten married to my high school sweetheart, who's still my wife. And we got married before we graduated college. So I was newly married. I bought a house and I had a mortgage to pay and a wife at home, and I didn't know what I was doing to make money. So I did the only thing I knew how to do at the time, which was door-to-door sales, because I had that's how I made extra money in college, was door-to-door. And so I did full-time door-to-door sales, thinking that was going to be like my path to wealth. And after about a year or so of doing it full-time, it was going pretty well for me. I made six figures at 22, 23. knocking on doors, selling alarm systems in the heat of Central California at the time. And I just had this kind of come to Jesus moment at the end of it where I was like, I don't want to do this either. So now I was kind of like, well, I don't want to do the thing that I have a degree in. I don't want to do the thing that I know how to do. So what do I do? And that was the first time I kind of launched into self-education. So picking up books, listening to audiobooks, and the first time I came across podcasts, and I've had a couple friends that recommended I listen to a podcast or two, started listening to a bunch of podcasts and thought they were fascinating. I loved that medium. I thought it was a really great medium to learn new information on. I like that you could just kind of set it and forget it, and you could move on, do other tasks. You could drive, you could be at the gym, you could be whatever, mowing the lawn, doing dishes, and you could just be consuming great information from smart people. And I then realized that people were actually making money doing it. So I was like, well, why don't I try this thing? So I hired a coach and launched a podcast back in 2017. Since then, it translated to multiple different revenue streams, business models, different things, podcast coaching, consulting, courses, communities, masterminds, travel retreats, and then even a software company and an agency all along the way, which I'm now stepping out of. And for the first time since I started the podcast, actively pursuing being just a full-time podcaster. So wow. Yeah, that's kind of the quick background.
Wow. That's amazing. And one of the things I'd love to maybe dig into a little bit, other than I'd love to hear about the cult some other time.
That's a whole full hour conversation whenever you want, bro.
We won't go there. I would love to hear. And now you live in Las Vegas. So you went from Fundamental Baptist to Sin City.
Sin City, baby. Yep, exactly.
I'm not going to go there, but what I'd love to dig into is the income generation side. So, on our show, we love to talk about investing, but in order to invest, you have to have something to invest, right? So what I love is you focus a lot on, hey, let's look at revenue streams. Let's look at income. Your podcast this morning, Travis Makes Money. Brilliant. Just how you break down very practical tips on earning income and making money. So let's just dovetail from your journey into how you think about that for your listeners, for other people. What are some recommendations? What are some things that you start at? Hey, if you're really thinking about income producing activities, start here.
Yeah, so I started we rebranded the show. It used to be called Build Your Network. We rebranded to Travis Makes Money because I just saw so many personal finance people online, and they basically exclusively talk about how to save money, cut expenses, budget, and then put $150 a month in the S&P. And then by the time you're 60, you'll have $1.2 million or whatever. I just disagree with that path to wealth in a lot of ways. And although I think that it's obviously it's really good for the majority of the country. I'm actually flying out to Ramsey HQ in about a month or so to interview Dave Ramsey about this. And he's made he's built a $500 million empire teaching people how to just manage their expenses better. And it's clear that they need it. 78% of the country still lives paycheck to paycheck or something like that. We're in more credit card debt than we've ever been in. So the discipline is required. The budgeting is required and things like that are required. But assuming that you have all that taken care of, assuming that you have no credit card debt, assuming that you've taken care of your bills, you've budgeted, there's no more meat left on the bone. So I tell people, it's like, if you've done all of those things and you are still worried about going to Starbucks to get your cup of coffee because it's going to cost you $142 a month, and that's $800,000 if you look at it compounding over it's like, well, we're focusing on the wrong thing here. What we should be focusing on is how do we increase that delta from $150 a month to $10,000 a month or $2,500 a month. And the discrepancy between those and what compounding interest does with 2,000 instead of 200 is wildly different based on how much you can contribute to it. And ultimately, I just think that $1 million when I'm 60 in 30 years from now, $1 million is not going to do much for you. I believe. I think inflation is going to destroy $1 million, and $1 million will be the new $100,000. You're not going to be able to live a good life doing that anyway. So it's my belief that the Gen Z millennials, we have to earn our way to retirement. We're not going to be able to save our way to retirement. So that was kind of the inception of the show, was like, how do we get people to think about the kind of the gig economy. How do we get people to start thinking about the side hustle that you can start that could maybe turn into something else later on down the road? And so as long as you have those initial things taken care of, you have to turn your attention away from just cutting, saving. And, if you're not too careful, you can put off all of the enjoyment of life now until you're 60, and we're not even guaranteed to live that long. You know what I mean? So I just think that it's not a healthy path forward. And like, I don't want to be the person that finally gets my dream car when I'm 72 years old. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the person that finally gets to take the trip to Bora Bora by the time I can't walk. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be able to do all those things now. And so you can do it in a smarter way if you can figure out ways to generate more income. So my thought is always like, what can you do right now with your skills, your network, your relationships, the things that you know how to do to start looking outside of what your, main income is, to take your income from $72,000 a year to $135,000 a year, while maintaining the same lifestyle. Because that's the other piece. People like lifestyle creep is a real thing and prevents people from living the life that they want to live eventually too. So there's multiple aspects to it.
Well, it's so funny you mentioned Ramsey, because when I think of saving and budgeting, I always think of those envelopes. It's like putting dollar bills in envelopes and naming them. And I never could do that personally. Yeah. And so your philosophy ties perfectly to just what I've done and how I've actually become an investor is by focusing on generating discretionary income. What can I do to just focus on the top line so that I have enough of a delta between top line and bottom line that I can earn, interest on, like you said, maybe instead of 72, now you're earning 135. If that's a 50K delta a year, now you're investing that. And now that's generating compound interest on that. I mean, that's significant versus saving a Starbucks, and then, investing that. So I love that philosophy. Tell me a little bit more. I want to dive in a little further. So do you tend to think philosophically about expanding your primary job to earn more, or launching a side hustle, as you said, or both? Like, what if I'm just thinking about, hey, how can I make more money?
It depends on what you enjoy. Like if you're in a position where you hate what you do every day, then my recommendation is build an exit plan as soon as possible. And that's going to be different for different people. If you're 24 and you hate what you're doing every day, and you're single and you have no kids and you have no responsibilities, then maybe that looks like literally going into your job and quitting tomorrow, putting in your 2 weeks notice, even though you don't know what you're going to do after that, because you have the flexibility and freedom to be able to go crash on your buddy's couch or your childhood bedroom for a couple of years. Now you can't at that point just stop working and stop hustling, because then that's how you end up being 43 and still living in your mom's basement, and that's not a good scenario either. But if you're doing something that you hate, man, you got to figure out a path out of that ASAP. But if you're doing something that you enjoy, but it's not necessarily it's not your passion, it's not your purpose, it's not your mission in life, then maybe the solve is how do I add more value to this organization to get paid more money from them? Maybe you saw they put out a job posting for another similar role to the one that you have, and that your capacity to work is, instead of 35 to 45 hours a week for this company, maybe you're willing to put in 60 hours a week or 70 hours a week. You may be able to go to them and be like, hey, what would it take if assuming that I could maintain and still thrive in my current responsibilities, what if I did that job too, and you pay me 50% of what the market rate was for that salary? It's like, well, then you're going in with the mindset of not how do I get more, but how can I offer more value to the organization, save you guys more money, get more productivity, but also increase my personal take home pay. And then if that option isn't on the table, then yeah, side hustling is kind of the opportunity. And then the cool thing now, man, is like there's so many ways to do it, from even the obvious ones like driving Uber or something like that. Or I had a guy on the show a couple times actually, who has a company called GreenPal, and it's kind of like Uber for lawn care. So they have tens of thousands of users, a few of which are making 7-figure incomes mowing lawns through GreenPal, where people just go like, hey, I need my lawn mowed. They go on the app and they find a professional service provider and they come out and you mow their lawn. So I love the concept of starting a side hustle. For me, there's a couple of filters that I look for. Number one is the side hustle scalable? So that's why I'm not as big of a fan as some of the ones that aren't super scalable. Like, garage sailing and flipping stuff on eBay or something like that. It's like, could it scale? Yeah, potentially. Like you might be able to hire crews of people to go to garage sales and start negotiating and buying stuff and giving it to you. You give them a commission on the sales price or something like that. But it's not super defensible. It's not really unique. It's not really, anything that's intentionally scalable. But if you're going to start a side hustle, that's why I really like service businesses. I really like agency services, anything like that, where you can start off by just taking your spare time to add value to another company with something that you're good at, or going down the street and offering to clean people's trash cans when after their trash is taken out. You get paid $10 a can or something like that. Those are real businesses that you can scale to the degree that you want it to scale. If you're just like, hey, if I want to make an extra $2,000 a month so that my contributions to my retirement fund goes from $200 a month to $2,200 a month. Okay, great. Then drive for Uber in your spare time, mow lawns or clean windows or do something like that in your spare time and take 100% of that income and dump it into retirement for the future or something like that. But then if you get to the point where you're like, this is actually kind of cool, I'm making more money than I thought I was going to be able to make. Well, then you hire your first person to start taking off some of the jobs from you. And then, you can go on to build a 7-figure window washing business. You can go on to build a 7-figure HVAC company or a 7-figure plumbing company or something like that. So I'm a big proponent of the side hustle thing. Just, you got to make sure that it's something that that you have the potential to scale if you desire to scale it at some point. And it really just depends. It's a situation by situation thing, but you got to ask yourself, what skills do I have? What value can I offer, whether it's to the organization that I currently work for, or it's to my neighbors, or it's to the, HOA that I'm a member of, or whatever it is, man. Like there's so many ways to make money. And I love the idea of starting with something like a service, but that's why I started a podcast as kind of a side hustle, because it has that infinite scalability factor. Now, if you have to make money now, starting a podcast is not a good idea. But if you want to build something into the future and that you're proud of, and that you look back in a decade and thank your younger self for doing the work, for building that thing, then that might be a good sign that you're onto something.
Yeah. Well, I love your focus on thinking about how you can add value. I think that's actually a really critical piece of your philosophy, and something that I think is just often overlooked. People think, hey, how can I make more money? It's about what can I get?
Right.
And what I heard you say is you should be thinking about what can I give?
Absolutely.
Like, what do I have to offer? How can I be a go-giver, not just a go-getter? And how can I actually think about how I'm adding value to my current employer, to the world, to my neighbors, whatever that might be.
People think they get paid for their time, but they don't. We all get paid for the value we bring to the marketplace. Bar none. That's it. So if you're frustrated with what you're getting paid, you have to figure out a way to create more value. Whether that's, again, like what I alluded to earlier about like doing more work for the same organization. Okay, well, that's additional value. You're saving them money and producing more money by doing another job, and maybe they'll pay you more for that. Maybe it's you have to take your free time and learn a new skill. Maybe you just aren't skilled enough to demand a higher rate of pay because this thing is not worth paying that much. If you're a minimum wage employee flipping burgers, it's just the basic economic concept of supply and demand. There are way too many people that can and will do that job for that dollar amount. So instead of getting frustrated with your employer that's paying you $15 an hour or $12 an hour or $20 an hour, depending on where you live, start asking yourself, well, what skill can I start building in my free time that would make me more valuable to this organization or to potentially another organization somewhere else? And there's never been an easier time to pick up new skills. So skill up, level up. And if you, like I said, if you're in that, like, hey, I'm debt free and that's all great. And I'm happy about that. And now I got an extra $200 a month. Travis, where should I invest this money? The answer is you should invest it into you. Yeah. Buy a course, hire a coach, subscribe to a software that teaches you something, or like you have to create the version of yourself that is capable of making the income that you want to make. You don't just get to snap your fingers and make whatever income you want to make. You have to become the person that's capable of making that income. And then the income will follow later on when you focus on, here's the skill that I have, here's the value that I provide. And if you want the fastest path, think about the skills that are going to add dollars to businesses. The bottom line is, man, every single one of us are just a product of businesses. You either start a business or you work for one. That's the only way to make money. So if you can focus on skills that bring more dollars and cents into the business, like marketing or sales or something like that, you will get paid a lot more than somebody who's just, and I use the word just, but I don't mean it to be, degrading at all. It just is like, if you're a project manager or if you are good at using a certain software or something, it's like, yeah, you can get paid more than you're going to get paid minimum wage, but the value starts to become like, you look back in 5 years and you have this skill of sales, and then the next 5 years you look back and now you have sales and marketing, and then you have sales and marketing and coding, and then you have sales and marketing, coding, and AI, and then like you start to stack skills over time. And when you have this skill stack, that's when you really create really unique value, and that unique value becomes specialized to you. And then when you're in a position where there are almost no other people that can do what I do as well as I do it, you will always get paid very well to do that thing.
That's so good. And one of the things I really love that you just mentioned, we often talk about investing in products. So investing in real estate, investing in stocks, investing in all these things. And maybe you can get 10% for investing in stocks. Maybe you get 20% for investing in real estate. Heck, maybe you get 50%. You got a wild investment, 50% over, course of 10 years. I think the best hedge fund manager ever returned like 61% year over year for like 10 years. But an investment in yourself can be way over that. If you spend $1,000 or $2,000 on a course, think about what that does to your income earning potential. And it's hundreds, if not thousands of % of ROI.
Yes.
And that's something that very few people think about or talk about when it comes to investing. And so I'm really glad that we have you on the show. We get to dig in a little bit to an investment in yourself can 10x your income, which can actually make you more valuable and give you more capital to invest in other things as well.
100%. If you don't have a significant amount of money in the bank, man, like you are the number one investment that you should be making. And you're the only investment that you can make that will always have a return. There's no way to lose if you invest in your knowledge, your skill sets, or your network. Like it's two things, competence and connections. If you invest in those two things, there will always be a return there, and they're completely recession proof.
So good. I wanted to talk about the competence piece real quick. You mentioned kind of a handful of skills, and one of those you said like AI and tech. And I know that that's an area that a lot of people are thinking about and really trying to develop a skill set in today. I'm curious what you think about, when I think about a side hustle, for whatever reason, I think about YouTubers talking about AI. Like, is there a particular area that you're like, hey, maybe this isn't so scalable, this is going to go out of style, and this, you named a few, but these are the kinds of things that are really good investments in yourself and capability and competency and connections? What do you recommend?
I would say if you are reliant on any sort of circumstance that's outside of your control, that's probably a bad area to invest your time in. Meaning, I'm going to get really good at TikTok or something like that. It's like, okay, that's not a bad idea. And I know a couple, like I met this 19-year-old kid the other day that makes a couple million a year doing TikTok shop for like e-com companies. He helps them set up their TikTok shop thing. He takes a percentage of sales, and it's like, well, hey, fantastic. That's awesome. But it's more important to learn the principles behind why it works rather than just that platform, because what happens, it almost happened. It almost happened. We saw it in real time where TikTok got actually shut down in the US for like a day and a half or something like that before it came back up, and now eventually came back on. But if your income is reliant on a platform that is controlled by things that you have no control over, then I would just be careful about how much time you spend on those things. Now, something like YouTube, like these companies are legacy companies that are going to be around for a long time. There's no version of YouTube shutting down operations tomorrow. They're too profitable. But largely though, like that's why I say, like, with AI, it's like it's learning the principles of AI. It's not necessarily getting good at one platform or something like that. You can start off as a side hustle, maybe doing something like that. But, those ones where you're looking to the future and it's like, this is going to be around for a long time. And also, especially for young people, and most of my show, my listeners are more Gen Z millennials type. And my focus with them is like, what are the things that are innate to you that are like speaking another language to people who have a lot of money, who've been in the workforce for 30 years. And AI is one of those things. It used to be social media. It was like, 10, 15 years ago, lots of 20 somethings were building 7-figure agencies, helping businesses get on social media because the 55-year-old operator of the local plumbing company had no idea what Instagram was, but knew they had to be on it. So they were looking for people to solve that problem for them. I think AI is the next big wave of that, where there's going to be a lot of people that are like, I know that there's probably something that I could be doing with this that's going to make my business more efficient, but I have no idea how to use it. I logged in one time, I was kind of confused, and I didn't do anything else after that. Well, great. These like 22-year-olds, it's like they're going to be almost growing up with this technology, and they're going to understand it to a degree that even other people, even if they spend a lot of time doing it, are not going to be able to understand it. It's like growing up, man. It was when I was growing up around where cell phones were finally coming out and becoming ubiquitous. So the first cell phone that I remember my dad having, he actually gave it to me. I have it somewhere. It's like this big old block cell phone that you pull the thing down, you pull the antenna up, all that stuff, but then when they upgraded to the Nokias at the time, it's like I knew how to operate that phone better than my parents did, because if you grow up with the technology, it becomes second nature to you. So it's a good question to ask yourself, is like, what are the things that are innate to me that I would devalue my knowledge in that someone else might think is extremely valuable? And we all have those, no matter how quote unquote dumb you think you are. If you've told yourself the story that I don't have anything to offer the world, you're probably wrong. There's probably something that you know how to do that other people don't know how to do, that you don't even look at as value because it's so second nature to you. So I think AI, some of those technologies are going to be around obviously for a very, very, very long time, and they're going to revolutionize the way that everybody does business. So if you can be the one to figure out how I can leverage this tool to help these people who have no desire to learn the tool, then there's always going to be money in those types of areas. So try not to be like platform specific, try to be more principle specific, because then platform goes down, another platform comes up, you can focus in on those other areas because you know the principles.
Oh, so good. Principle specific instead of platform specific. Learn the principles to generating wealth, to making money, and be platform agnostic.
Marketing is a great example of that, because you take a marketing class in college, by the time you graduate, it's out of date, but the principles of marketing have been true for the last 100 years, because ultimately marketing is just a study of human psychology, and human psychology might change, but it's not going to change in 1 or 2 generations. It might take 5 or 6 generations to completely change how humans make decisions. So if you can learn the principles of persuasion, you can apply those principles to whatever platform is like the new hot thing, versus like, I know how to, run Facebook ads. And it's like, cool, but Facebook ads are way more expensive than they used to be. They're untenable for some businesses. They're not as, it's way more saturated. There's way more competition. So if you didn't learn the principles of persuasion and copy and human psychology, then you might be stuck to a platform that isn't as useful for as many people as it was before.
So good. And I'm biased because I went to school for marketing, and I remember at the time thinking like, oh, I could study finance and learn some hard skills. But I was like, I think I actually want to learn the soft skills, because I think that I'll be able to learn the hard skills after college. And actually it ended up paying off and kind of working out that way. Now it took me longer to learn. took me longer to learn the hard skills versus, Dan, who numbers are secondhand information for him. But I definitely get what you're saying there, Travis. So Dan is going to lead you through the lightning round. I'm taking away just this principle of investing in yourself as getting like 10x returns, specifically giving yourself the capacity to increase income earning potential by thinking first about how you add value to your employer, to the world, and leveraging that additional income to actually get you to a better place from a net income, personal balance sheet, and income statement perspective. So thanks for sharing, Travis. Dan is going to take it away.
Awesome. Yeah. Super interesting conversation. Just before we jump into that lightning round, I'll just mention I'm a really big fan of one of Ramsey's probably biggest competitors, the Money Guys. And they talk about this concept of when you're young in particular, if you're trying to build a pile of money, having a big shovel is like the most important part to digging a big pile. So get like every time you can level up and just make that shovel bigger and bigger and bigger. Every time you dig in the ground, you're making just a bigger pile. And so that's like always, that analogy has always stuck with me. And that's, I think, exactly what you're describing. So I agree wholeheartedly that getting that big giant shovel is the way to get a big giant pile. So love that. But hey, I'm going to jump into our lightning round. So Travis, tell us, personal, professional, whichever direction you want to take it, what is your biggest win?
Oh, without giving the trite one of my kids, I'll try to dig a little bit deeper than that, because they're obviously the thing I'm most proud of in life. But I'll go with interviewing Shaquille O'Neal. That was probably one of the biggest wins of my professional career, because obviously he's Shaq, so enough said there, but he was also, for me personally, childhood hero. So I played basketball all the time. Grew up in Southern California, so I was a big Lakers fan, and Shaq was my favorite player. I had plaques and bobbleheads and jerseys, and you name it, I had it, all the Shaq memorabilia possible. So being able to interview Shaq was super cool for me.
That's amazing. As a basketball junkie myself, I'm pretty jealous of that. It's really cool. How about your favorite movie?
Any particular genre?
No, intentionally open-ended. What
Cartoons.
All right. Yeah. I'm all over the place, man. I've thought about this actually quite a few times, because I'm a movie, TV show junkie, probably too much sometimes. But one of my favorite movies in terms that's more of an adult type movie would be it's so my favorite that I am blanking on the name of it right now. Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson, The Departed. The Departed is an all-time great. If you haven't watched it, it's one of the greatest movies ever made, I think. But if I was gonna because there's so many ways to answer the question. I would not just turn on The Departed and just watch it whenever, because it's such a heavy movie. Mm-hmm. So if I was just gonna turn on a movie, I might say The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. That's probably one of my favorite movies ever that I could just watch whenever it's on.
Cool. I was a little nervous where you were going to go with that, because you said it was more of an adult movie. I was like, oh boy, what's he going to say here?
Produced in Las Vegas.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. What about a favorite food? Hopefully that's a little simpler.
I got to go with steak. I'm a big steak lover, and I've fortunately taken it as a personal mission to get good at cooking steak. So my wife and I eat steak probably 3 to 4 nights a week. Every week we buy a pack of steaks from Costco, and that's my nutrition plan basically, is I know I have to fill my protein load every day. And so I was just why not just eat what I want to eat? So I've learned that a lot of the misconceptions around red meat have been debunked recently. So it gave me permission to cook myself a big ribeye for dinner every night.
That's amazing. Good for you. Have you ever tried cooking it on a salt block?
No.
You got to try that.
All right.
Given a salt block for Father's Day one year, and you heat that thing in the oven for 2 hours and then throw a piece of meat on it, and man, it's delicious, and it just cooks right on the thing of salt. But
I'll try it out.
Cool, man. How about a growth edge? What's a way that you are looking to improve yourself personally and professionally these days?
Focusing on my health a lot more. It's a loaded answer because there's a lot that goes into that, but to save time, I've let my health become a second and third and fifth and 10th priority throughout the years. And I've always found to be much more productive, much more confident. It bleeds into every area of my life. So I'm kind of a gym junkie, and I try to take care of my health. And that always helps to make sure that I improve myself. If you focus on improving yourself, you have more respect for yourself, and it bleeds into every other area of your life.
Yeah, I totally get that. If you ask my wife, what's the number one thing that's going to dictate whether or not I'm happy, it's did I get to the gym? Because it just changes your mindset so incredibly. Cool. And how about some A+ content? Sounds like you do a lot of podcasts, but any particular podcasts that you recommend or books that you've read that have really transformed you lately?
Yeah, there's I need to put together a comprehensive book list at some point, because I've just become more of a reader in the last few years. Probably one of the ones that I recommend across the board to basically anybody that wants to be successful and happy in life is the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. And Naval didn't actually write the book. It was put together by a guy who's actually been on my show, Eric Jorgensen. And it's written kind of like Bible-esque, like Marcus Aurelius's The Meditations. It's like a collection of Naval's thoughts from tweets and social media posts and different things that he's done over the years. But it separates the books in two separate sections. One of them is success and one of them is happiness. And I love, like, he's obviously built some insane companies and he has a very, very high net worth, but not everybody that does that has the ability to pull out the lessons and articulate them on a consumable basis. And I think Naval is prodigious with that type of content. So I would highly recommend anybody pick up a copy of that book. There's so much stuff. I would do it when I was like going for walks or at the gym or something. I had to stop because I would just like found myself on my phone all the time typing out something that I just listened to on the audiobook. So I had to like do it more purposefully later on because it took too much attention away from the other thing that I was doing at the time. So that's one of the ones that I recommend anybody read.
Awesome recommendation. Thank you. And lastly, how can our audience connect with you or find you or follow along your story?
Yeah, the best place, man, is I have two podcasts. One of them is Travis Makes Money, which is what Andrew was on this morning. It's daily interviews with entrepreneurs and unconventional money makers. So we have people on there that are side hustlers that have a 9-to-5 still. We also have people who've had 9-figure exits who've been on the show as well, sharing ideas and ways to make more money, mindsets, tips, tools, tactics, strategies, whatever it is. So that one's jam-packed with daily content for anybody who's looking to increase their earnings. The other one's Travis Makes Friends. It's a little bit more society culture. It's like 60 to 90 minute weekly interviews that we do on that one. But that one's more like, we just had Murr from the Impractical Jokers. We just had Donald Miller from Building a Story Brand. I'm flying out to interview Dave Ramsey. That's for that show. Randy Couture and Tim Kennedy, both ex, UFC champs and stuff like that. That's kind of more longer form philosophical discussions. It's more of like my scratching my curiosity itch podcast. So the love language of podcasters is to listen to their show and leave a rating and review. So if you want to connect with me more, that's the best place to do it. And then actually reaching out to me, I'm probably most active on Instagram, which is at Travis Chappell.
Awesome. Well, Travis, thanks so much for being on the show. Really just enjoyed hearing your perspective and philosophy. Again, I'm really taking away this concept of focus on principles, build those capabilities, invest in yourself for like 10x returns versus, some small percentage that you can get investing in other things. So Travis, thanks for being on the show. All of our listeners, thanks for listening in, and we'll catch you next time on Real Returns.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Real Returns podcast. We hope that you learned something new about how you can invest to make a lasting impact on those around you. Please be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you listen to your podcasts, leave us a review, and share about us on social media. We hope you will join us for our next episode, where we will be continuing the conversation around impactful real estate investing.